2 hours ago, the White House issued an executive directive that crossed a line no American president has ever crossed with a neighboring ally. The Trump administration formally demanded that Canada place its critical mineral reserves, lithium, cobalt, nickel, rare earth elements, and uranium, under a joint North American oversight framework with American majority control. Not a trade proposal, not a negotiation invitation, a directive. Washington called it the Critical Minerals Security Act. The order gives Canada 21 days to comply or face 50% tariffs on all Canadian exports, suspension of technology transfer agreements, and a full review of Canada's status as a preferential defense procurement partner. The scale of what Washington is attempting to seize cannot be overstated. Canada holds the third largest rare earth reserves on the planet. Canadian mines supply approximately 40% of the cobalt used in American electric vehicle batteries. Canadian uranium fuels roughly 25% of American nuclear reactors. Canadian nickel flows directly into the guidance systems of American precision weapons. Without Canadian critical minerals, the United States defense industrial base does not function. And Washington just tried to take control of all of it. The directive has 3 core components. First, Canada must establish a joint critical minerals oversight board with American majority voting rights over export decisions, pricing, and production quotas. Every lithium, cobalt, and rare earth shipment leaving Canadian soil to China, Japan, or the EU requires American approval. Second, Canada must freeze all pending mineral agreements with nations Washington designates as strategic competitors. Negotiations with China, India, and Southeast Asian economies are dead unless Washington signs off. Third, all Canadian processing facilities receiving federal subsidies must prioritize American manufacturers, locking supply chains before Canada can develop its own downstream battery industry. The logic was simple. China controls 90% of global rare earth processing. Canada has the reserves. America needs them. Apply enough pressure and Ottawa will comply. They expected Carney to calculate the 75% export dependency and quietly agree. But this is where Washington made its most catastrophic miscalculation yet. Carney did not wait 21 days. He did not wait 21 hours. Exactly 58 minutes after the directive went public, he appeared at a podium in Ottawa flanked by Canada's Minister of Natural Resources. No notes, no teleprompter. He opened with one sentence. Canada's minerals belong to Canadians. That is not a negotiating position. It is a constitutional fact. Then came 4 countermeasures. First, immediate passage of the Canadian Critical Minerals Sovereignty Act, legislation already drafted, already cross-party approved before Trump signed anything, constitutionally enshrining exclusive Canadian authority over all mineral export decisions. It passes into law in 72 hours. Second, Canada is suspending all pending American extraction applications on Canadian soil. 47 American companies hold active permits, all frozen, effective midnight. Third, emergency federal funding compresses Canada's 8-year critical minerals strategy into 36 months. The goal is not raw ore export. It is full domestic processing. Canadian lithium refined into battery-grade material, Canadian cobalt processed into components, shipped as finished products at finished product prices. And this was the move that made Washington go silent. Fourth, Carney revealed that Canada has formally signed accelerated mineral supply agreements with Japan, South Korea, Germany, and the EU, quietly negotiated over the past 14 months. Japan gets lithium and cobalt through 2045. Germany gets nickel. South Korea gets uranium cooperation. The EU gets rare earth processing partnerships. Every agreement bypasses the United States entirely. Every agreement was ready before Trump signed a single word. Carney closed with one line. Canada did not build these partnerships in response to today's directive. We built them because we saw this day coming 12 months ago. Here is why the economic reality makes Washington's position untenable. The Pentagon's own supply chain assessment concluded that the U.S. defense industrial base cannot produce fighter aircraft, missile systems, or submarine reactor components without uninterrupted Canadian mineral inputs. No alternative supplier scales in under 3 years. American EV manufacturers are equally exposed. GM, Ford, and Tesla built battery supply chains anchored in Canadian cobalt and lithium. Rerouting takes years and billions. Rare earth elements from Canadian sources also flow into chip fabrication across the American Southwest. Disrupting supply does not inconvenience tech companies. It halts production lines. Carney read each dependency out loud at that podium, number by number, sector by sector, so no one in Washington could later claim ignorance. The American business community did not wait for a government response. The National Mining Association called the directive counterproductive to American national security interests. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce warned that forcing a resource confrontation with Canada would accelerate the supply chain fragmentation Washington claims to be trying to prevent. Goldman Sachs analysts projected that even a partial Canadian mineral restriction contracts American industrial output measurably within 1 quarter. These are not Canadian lobbying voices. These are American institutions telling their own government it just aimed a precision weapon directly at its own manufacturing base. The international response was swift and unambiguous. The European Union expressed full solidarity with Canada's sovereign right to control its natural resources. Germany confirmed that European industrial policy depends on Canadian mineral partnership, not American intermediation. Japan's Ministry of Economy confirmed Tokyo views its new Canadian agreements as strategically essential and fully independent of Washington's approval. NATO's Secretary General issued a rare public statement urging de-escalation, noting that internal alliance resource conflicts benefit only strategic adversaries. China said nothing publicly. It did not need to. Every hour Washington spends fighting Canada over mineral access is an hour Beijing uses to consolidate its processing dominance. Washington did not isolate Canada. Washington isolated itself while handing China the most valuable gift imaginable, proof that the Western alliance cannot manage its own resource relationships without coercion. Trump now faces 3 paths, and none lead where he intended. Enforce the directive and watch American defense contractors lobby Congress for emergency intervention as supply chains seize up. Walk it back and accept humiliation. Escalate further and push Canada's European and Asian partnerships from temporary agreements into permanent strategic architecture. Every path delivers what Carney has already achieved, a Canada less dependent on America than it was yesterday. 2 hours ago, the White House believed it was solving a supply chain problem by forcing Canada's hand. 2 hours later, it is staring at a country that spent 14 months building legal frameworks, diplomatic agreements, and processing infrastructure specifically designed to make that kind of force obsolete. Trump wanted Canada's minerals. He got Canada's resolve, and a coalition of allies who just decided they needed their own exit routes too. Mark Carney is not reacting to this administration anymore. He is executing a strategy that was finished long before this directive was written. Washington finds itself 3 moves behind a man it fundamentally underestimated. Do you think Canada can maintain the upper hand in this mineral war long term? Let's meet in the comments.